Hi everybody, this is Professor Goldstein with your 7th video. Hope everybody's good. This will be the last video that I record before you have your spring recess, your holiday vacation, and I want to wish you all a very good time. And this is going to be a very short video, and then we're going to be returning on, I think, the 9th of April, and I'll have more videos posted then, but I will not be posting any videos starting on Wednesday this week because I don't want to interfere with your holiday celebrations or your vacation. But I do want to talk to you a little bit about business, and especially when it comes to your business plan. And I said I would start on the business plan right now. This is going to be a 5-page business plan that is going to be the culmination of the semester. It'll be due, and I'll give you a date, it'll be due the last week of the semester. And basically, you have to complete this in order to complete the class, the coursework for the semester. And when I say it's 5 pages, it's going to be 5 type pages that you're going to send me via email, and you're going to send it directly to me. Let me just shut off my phone. You're going to be sending it directly to me, and it will include everything that we're going to be doing about your business. And I want to talk about a business. So all businesses have a moment of creation. Usually it's a moment, they call it like an aha moment, or they call it a moment of creation, or a moment of genius where you come up with this idea for a business. And usually it's when you least expect it. It could be like, as my friend created his business, he created it in his sleep. He woke up one night, and this is a friend of mine who's a very wealthy man. He created the business. He woke up one night and he thought about different subjects, and all of a sudden he woke up in a dream, and he had the idea for his business, and he started doing it the next day. And that's one way of doing it. Some people think about, look around, look at different areas, different things that people need, things that people want, and they come up with a business. Now, the one thing I've told you over and over is that your business does not have to be original. Your business could be something that already exists, but you're going to make it yours. It's going to be your idea. It could be anything, and it could be, a pizza place. It could be a barbershop. It could be a beauty parlor. It could be a nails place. It could be anything that you're going to do in your home, or if you do it like at a flea market. I don't want you to have to rent a place. So it's something that, or you could do it at a college, or you could do it somewhere else. But this is a small business that only is going to take up a few hours of your week, 10 hours, 20 hours a week, not too much, where you're going to create a business for yourself. And maybe if you'll hire some others, but really it's for yourself, where you are your own boss and you create your own way of thinking. So that first paragraph of your business plan is going to be how you came up with the idea for your business. That's really what I want to hear. As if I was in an elevator with you and I said to you, "Hi, we have about 3 minutes before we get to the 25th floor. Tell me about how you came up with your business." And you tell me in 3 minutes or less how you came up with the idea for your business, whatever your business is, whatever your business thought is. It might be your own experience from your own, it could be from your family. My grandmother used to make the greatest pancakes, so I'm creating a company that makes pancakes. Or my father was a person who was very bright and in math, and he taught me math, and now I'm going to teach others my father's style of learning math. Or it could be, I'm very good at creating nails for women, and people love my nails. They think my nails are gorgeous, and I'm going to do other people's nails and create a business like that. Whatever it is, it's that moment where you come up with it, and where you were, and how you thought about it. And I want to see creativity. I want to see a moment of thoughtfulness, that you've been thinking about it for a while, that it was something that, just didn't, it popped into your head, but it was something that was like, it really grabbed you. I want it to be something that you enjoy doing, that's something that's part of you, that's going to be something that will make your job enjoyable. Now, I did a whole thing last time about boring businesses. Yeah, boring businesses are boring to people on the outside, but to the people who are actually doing the business, it's not boring because they're learning about business. They're making money off the business. They're creating something. There's a whole, when a painter paints a painting, or when a sculptor, sculpts a sculpture, there's the process of actually creating it is, to them, sometimes painful, sometimes enjoyable, sometimes they don't even know how they did it. I've spoken to lots of painters and lots of artists, movie stars, people like that. Rock and roll players. I used to be a writer for a magazine, and I would interview a lot of people on Broadway. And this one guy I interviewed was a very famous rock star, and he said he was by the time I interviewed him, he was already in his 60s, and he was doing a Broadway show, and he had made a million, records. His group was one of the most famous groups in the world at one time, and it was part of what was called the British Invasion. These groups of bands that came from England to the United States, and he was the lead guitarist for one of the bands, and the writer really wrote most of the music for the bands and most of the lyrics for the band. And I asked him, I said, you seem to have slowed down. You don't write as much anymore. He was doing a Broadway show based upon his earlier work when he was younger. And he said it doesn't come to him anymore. He said it was very much a part of being young. He said, I don't know where it came from. It came from God. It came from wherever. He goes, the music that I had came from somewhere else. So you're at a point in your life right now where you can create a business. Now, it may disappear eventually. You may not be the same person when you get older, but you have this young youthfulness, hopefully, that you can utilize to create different things and create different, and if it doesn't work, then you push it aside and you create something else. But a business is very much like art. Steve Jobs, who was, one of my icons and really created Apple, and created it from nothing, and really thought of business as an art. He thought of his work, and he thought first about what people wanted. What did people want? What do they need? And then he worked his way back. And that's what I think you should do with your business. You should think about what people want, what people need. And that will be the first 2 paragraphs of your business plan. 2 really good, solid paragraphs that I want you to work on. Now, as I said before, you can use ChatGPT. But you have to put in the information into ChatGPT that's correct, and then work your own words into it and your own ideas into it. Let ChatGPT form it for you, the first 2 paragraphs, if you want. Doesn't mean you have to. And then you create your own aha moment, that moment of genius, that moment where you've created something that's yours. It could be based on something else. Nothing in the world is original. They say the only thing original was handed to Moses on the mountain, the 10 Commandments, but there really is nothing original in this world. Everything has been done, at least in some form at one point or another. Like with Elon Musk and Tesla, electric cars. Everybody said, oh, he created electric. He didn't create electric cars. Electric cars existed in the early 1900s. They just didn't work. They couldn't figure out how to use the batteries or create a big enough battery to make and a lot of people were against electric cars because there was so much money put towards gasoline-powered cars, and the gasoline was so cheap in those days. They were saying, why are we creating these electric cars? But Thomas Edison tried to create an electric car. The guy who created the light bulb tried to create an electric car. It just didn't work out. In the 1800s, he tried to create an electric car. But Elon was able to figure out a way to create the batteries to make them affordable. I mean, somewhat affordable. They're still expensive, and create Tesla. And now there's EVs. All the car companies have EVs, and there are companies all over the world that are trying to create EVs. So it's not something that's just a short-term thing. It's going to be part of our future. But there was that moment he said, hey, I could create an electric car. Hey, I could create a rocket. Hey, I could create a way of paying people online. He created PayPal. So all these types of businesses, securely online, all these types of businesses he thought, what do people need? And what do people want? And that's really what you should always be doing in business, is always thinking about what are the needs of the people, and how do I provide those needs, and how do I provide them better than my competition, and what is something that makes my product unique, my services unique, and who am I in terms of that position? Am I the person who's just the creator and I have other people do the work, or am I someone who actually could do it myself? In this case, hopefully you can work in your business yourself. I make, my aunt made beautiful scarves. She taught me how to knit scarves. I'm going to make scarves, individual scarves for people. There's a very famous watchmaker in Great Britain who really worked for other watchmakers for many, many years, and then broke out on his own. And he only makes 10 watches or so a year, maybe a few more, and each watch goes for about $500,000 a watch. But he only makes 10 of them a year, and he felt that he had that talent, that he could do something like that. You could do something like that also. You could make something that's unique to you and sell it. You don't have to make a lot of them. I told you the story about the woman at my prior job who made the great velvet cake, red velvet cake, and she started, she didn't make a million red velvet cakes, although eventually she expanded to other businesses and did sell them to restaurants and so forth. But that's not what she intended in the beginning. She was just bringing red velvet cake into the office, and people enjoyed it. And so I was the one who kind of told her how to, scale it up to a business. So for all of you, think of a business that you like. Think of a business that you enjoy. And then write the 2 paragraphs. Start writing the 2 paragraphs now. You have the holidays, and then after the holidays, start writing those 2 paragraphs and thinking about how you came up with the idea for the business. It might not be the first one you do. You might throw it away. It might not be the 10th one you do. Come up with a business that is something that you like. I'm wearing a hat right now. I'm looking at it on the video, and I'm saying, oh, so you know who Ralph is, right? Ralph's Coffee, New York. Well, Ralph was Ralph Lauren. Actually, that's not his real name, but that's okay. His real name was Ralph Lifshitz, and he started out in the Bronx. He was born in the Bronx, started out in the Bronx, and there was a time where men wore, much more than today, men wore suits and ties to work every day. And there was a trend, really in the early 60s, where men wore these very wide ties. Not like the ties of today, but very wide ties. And they were beautiful ties, but it was the fashion of the day that men wore those ties. And he worked in the fashion industry, and he worked down in the fashion district in Manhattan, and he started creating his own ties to wear. Ralph Lauren, and he would obviously put on the back of his ties that these were made by Ralph, and he changed his name from Ralph Lifshitz because nobody was going to buy ties from Ralph Lifshitz to Ralph Lauren, and he thought it sounded good. And that was his first business. People would see the ties. He would give them to people to wear for free. And people would say, where'd you get that tie? And then he would go to stores and say, would you carry my tie? And I think the first stores were like Bloomingdale's and so forth that carried his ties. I'm not even sure which ones. carried his wide ties, but they were very colorful, very beautiful, very bold statements, and they really had a look to them that was much different than the ties of that day. This was from his own creativity, his own idea of what men would want to wear, because men usually had to wear dark suits, white shirts. They were very staid in the way they looked, and they didn't look flashy, but the tie gave them the opportunity to look a little flashy, and he turned that into a business. He made the ties by hand. He had women that he paid to make the ties, and that's how he got started in the fashion industry. He was Ralph Lauren, the tie maker, not Ralph Lauren, the iconic clothes stores that we know today, and the iconic clothes that he has. And his whole idea was based upon the myth of America. His whole clothing business was based upon the myth. Eventually, he built it into a business where it was very much about. There was a time where he did preppy clothes that looked like you went to a prep school, and people wore those clothes. He also did the West. He did a collection. His clothes was very much like the West. He did clothes that looked like you came from an English country manor. His whole thing was about this myth, always mythology of what people are looking for, and he would design his clothes for that. It was very much from the movies, from him growing up in the Bronx, and him thinking about what people wanted. That's what I want for you. I want you to think about yourself. Think about where you come from, who you are. Do you come from another country? Do you come from the United States? What are the things that you wanted as a young man or a young woman? What are the things that your family wanted? That's what I'm looking for in your business. That's what I'm looking for in your aha moment. I will be putting up a lot of videos about your business plan. This is just the first of many, and I wanted to keep it short. But come up with a great idea for a business. Tell me about how you came up with that idea. Tell me about the idea. Tell me about the idea. Tell me about how you came up with the idea. Tell me when you came up with the idea. What moment of the day. Where you were. Tell me about what you tasted, what you smelled. Tell me about give me a piece of yourself in that aha moment, that business. And that's really what I want at the first part of your business plan. I want that. Tell me about your business. Tell me about where you came up with the idea. That's exciting. It's exciting as for me. It should be exciting for you. You should really, really work on those first 2 paragraphs. That's going to be very much part of your grade. That grips the person who's reading your business plan. That will always grip you. You will always go back to it and say to yourself, this is how I came up with the business. This was the original seed that my business grew into. This was the idea that I loved. Why did I love that idea at that time? What made that idea so good that I'm always going to go back to it? And whatever that idea is, you got to hold on to that idea through your entire business. That's the idea that's the rock. That's the foundation of your business, is that original idea. And that's really what I want to see from you. So on that note, I'm going to stop this video. Have a great holiday. Have a great vacation. Enjoy yourselves. It's been a pleasure getting to know you virtually, and I will talk with you all later. Bye-bye.